Hi everyone, and welcome to Cooking with Cricket. So today I'm bringing you along as I make dill pickle relish. We're going to can it actually in my water bath canner. I got the recipe from my this is the old book, it ain't the new one, the ball blue book, on page 87 of the old one. And all we really need is around 8 pounds of cucumbers, a couple of onions, some turmeric and dill seed, pickling and canning salt, and vinegar and sugar. So I'm going to go get my cucumbers washed real good, and then I'll meet you back at the table. And remember, do your own research and follow your book and all when you're making and canning, because I'm new at this, so I'm just bringing you along for the journey. Okay, I should mention I have 8 pounds of pickling cucumbers. Actually, these are just regular cucumbers. Aldi had these on sale for 29 cents, and I don't feel a waxy coating on here. And mine actually weighed 7 pounds, 0.9 ounces. So that's close enough. So we got to cut the blossom and the stem end off. And I'm going to put mine in the food processor, or you can finely chop them. But even in the book says you can put them in the food processor. So just do a little bits at a time. You don't want to, over grind them. But let me get one in there real quick and we'll chop it up. I don't want to overfill my processor. This step might take a few minutes. These cucumbers were pretty big. Cover your ears, because this food processor is the loudest food processor I have ever heard. So, okay, I am going to scrape down my sides, because it tends to travel up. I'll give it a few more pulses. If you get big pieces that travel up, just continue to scrape it down. That's why I don't want to overfill. And I really don't mind if mine is finely minced. Alright, that looks good. Now I have a big old stainless steel bowl. I'm going to pour these in, continue with the rest of them, and then I'll be back. Now in the grocery store, I know I looked every one of these cucumbers over. This must have happened in the car. Looks like something broke into it, so I'm going to cut that off. And any little bad spots, I'm going to totally discard that section. Alright, I have them all grinded up. It's a lot of it. So now we're going to cover it, or sprinkle on, a half a cup of pickling and canning salt. And 2 teaspoons of turmeric. And now we're going to pour cold water over this, just enough to cover. Let me stir this up. Now, it's been so hot here where we're at. I mean, you're having like 100-degree temperature days, so my cold water feels warm, actually coming out of the tap. So I'm actually going to put some ice cubes in here first, and then pour some cold water over that. And if you also, what's optional, you can also use the ball pickle crisp, but that's optional. But you just want to pour enough water over here to cover them. It won't be much because these cucumbers was juicy. Let me get a little bit more. Now we're going to cover this and let this set for 2 hours. Now my recipe also calls for a pound of yellow onions, but I'm using Vidalia onions. and that's about 3 medium onions. So I'm going to go ahead and chop mine up in the food processor too, so they'll be the same size, and just cover them and keep them in my refrigerator till I get ready, since I have my food processor out and it's already dirty. So let me get my onions ready. And here's my finely minced onion that I put in the food processor. I'm going to cover them and keep them in the refrigerator, and then I'll be back. Alright, it says it makes around 7 pint jars, but I haven't decided if I want to use the pint jars or the half pint jars. Because the pint jar is pretty big. Usually when you buy dill relish at the store, you know, it looks almost like in half pint jars. So while I'm making that decision, and while that has to set for 2 hours, even though these are new, my jars are new, I'm going to wash them in warm soapy water real good and rinse them real good. And then after my pickles or my cucumbers has set an hour and still have an hour to go, I'm going to go ahead and get my water heating up in my water canner, and because it will take it a while to come up to boil, and get it ready. So then when the 2 hours is up, then I can go ahead and put my jars on in there to sterilize, and then finish cooking my pickles and all. So I'll be back. Let me clean up my mess, and then I'll be back. I have my water nearly at a boil in my water bath canner, and I've decided instead of using pint jars, I'm going to use half pint jars, and that shouldn't change the process time since I'm scaling down and not scaling up. Alright, it's been 2 hours, and I have my large pan ready. First we got to drain our cucumbers and rinse them and drain them real good. So if I use my regular strainer, the holes are too big and it will just probably go straight through. So this is going to be a little bit of a process. I'm going to take some out at a time. And I'm going to strain it and rinse it. You want to rinse with cold water. And then press it real good. Get all of that water out. Rinse it real good and press it. And then we'll put it in our pan. So once I get it all rinsed and drained, I mean press it real good, get it almost dry, then I'll be back. Alright, I have my cucumbers and onions rinsed and drained the best way that I could. I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of dill seed. One-third of a cup of white granulated sugar. And 1 quart of white distilled vinegar, and make sure it's the 5% acidity. So once this comes up to the boil, we're going to turn the heat down and let it simmer. And in the book it says you want it to at least reach 180 degrees Fahrenheit. So once it starts to boil and the sugar is dissolved, then I'll bring you back and we'll start timing the simmer. Alright, we're coming up to a good boil. See, I stir it. And it still boils. Let it get just a little bit hotter. And I'm pretty sure all the sugar is dissolved. Okay, now I'm going to reduce the heat and let it simmer for 10 minutes. And you'll want to keep it stirred too. Make sure nothing sticks. Now for my rings and lids, what I did was just brought some water to boil and then just took it off the heat and stuck my rings and lids down in there. Alright, now let me set my timer for 10 minutes. I wanted to show you I had my rack lowered and had my lid on, and these jars has boiled for around 20 minutes. So I've raised the rack, left the water in them, I've got my funnel, debubbler, and ladle sterilized, and my stuff's almost done boiling. So let me show you over here. This bowl has vinegar in it. I have my paper towel. That's what we're going to use to wipe the lid with. And so we're about ready to get canning. But I did have my jars submerged in the water. I just have raised them up. And this is what the mixture looks like. It's gotten thickened. It's thickened up nicely. We only have 10 seconds. My timer's about to go off. Okay, that's ready. Let me get resituated and I'll be back. I wanted to show you, could tell it's changed color. Looks like what I get in the store anyway. Now this is just me. I'm going to give it a good stir to make sure everything's really mixed well. And then start putting it in my jars. Okay, I hope you can see real good. Remember, my kitchen in this area is so tiny. So I'm only going to take 2 jars out at a time because you want to put the hot mixture in a hot jar. So I'm going to take a jar out, drain the water. Make sure you can see. And then I'll have another jar to rest my funnel on. And then with the rack still raised above the water, that's where we'll put our jars back in. And you want to fill it to a 1/2 inch headspace. And on your debubbler, mine, it has 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch, 3/4 inch, so on. Sorry about the phone ringing. So anyway, you want to fill it up to a 1/4 inch headspace. I mean, not a 1/4 inch, excuse me. So you want to fill it up to a 1/2 inch headspace. Okay, it took about a ladle. And you want to debubble before you measure, because sometimes that changes your headspace. And I know that this is all pretty liquidy. Ain't liquid going to be able to hide in all of that. So let me measure. That looks good. See, that's a 1/4 inch. Yep. That looks good. So now I'm going to take my paper towel, dip it in some vinegar, wipe the rim of my jar, make sure that's good and clean. Get my cap ready. Oh mercy. Okay, and this is going to be hot. And you only want to do it fingertip tight. And be careful, your jars will be hot. So just fingertip tight. Put it back in your canner with the rack raised up. Get out another jar. And so on. I'll fill one more. And I hope you can see. Let's see. Yep, that's a 1/2 inch headspace. Debubble and check it again. Looks good to me. Say, I've never done this before. I've made jelly and then the pepper rings, but I wouldn't really water bath canning those. Get my ring ready. And then when I get ready to process them, I'll bring you back. Oh, and if you wanted to add the the crisp stuff, the pickle crisp, you would add it in your jars as you was adding the pickles. Alright, I got 10 half-pint jars with this much left over. That's not even enough to fill a jar. So I have them in my water bath canner. They're not touching each other. We're going to lower the rack carefully. And the water needs to at least cover the jars by 1 inch, and that's covered it a lot. You're going to put the lid on over medium-high heat and bring it to a good rolling boil. Once it's at a good rolling boil, we're going to process for 15 minutes. And I'll be back once it gets to a good rolling boil and we've processed it for 15 minutes. Alright, my 15 minutes are up. We're going to shut off the heat and carefully remove the lid. And I'm going to remove it away from me. And now we're just going to let the jar set in there and chill for 5 more minutes. Kind of let them cool down for 5 minutes. Now over there on my counter where I had my towel laid down, where I filled the jars and all, I've left that towel there because this part of my kitchen, because you don't want to disturb the jars, so they can set undisturbed and draft free for 12 hours. So I've just left that towel there. Alright, my 5 minutes are up. So carefully raise the rack. Now, oh, I'm already hearing sealing. You hear that? Oh, they're all sealing. You're not supposed to tip the jars to get the water off the top. Just remove them to the place that they're going to be resting. Don't retighten the lids if they've came undone. Oops. Just leave the lids alone. Sometimes they get loose. That one just sealed. But it says in the book, do not retighten them. First time I made jelly and it popped like that, I thought the jar was about to explode. And there's my jars. Remember, don't retighten any of the lids. Don't press down to make sure they're sealed. Don't do nothing. Let them sit here for 12 hours until they've totally cooled. Undisturbed, it's best if they're in a draft-free place. Don't touch them. Don't do nothing to them. And it's 5 o'clock in the evening now, so tomorrow when I get up and everything, I'll bring you back and we'll check the seals and everything. That one's still bubbling some. We'll check the seals and everything. Now, if you don't want your relish that chopped up, you can use a grater or you can chop them by hand. But my hands, I just can't grate all of that, and I can't chop all of that. My hands, they get to where they hurt me, and especially in the mornings, it takes me a while before I can even use them. So I don't mind being chopped up like that. If you've watched a lot of my videos, you see that I do a lot of my vegetables in the food processor anyway. So let me show you one of these. And I'm not supposed to disturb them. See? But thanks for coming along and watching. Remember, do your own research and get you that ball book. And you know, do your research and study on it. And I want to give Heather from the Needy Homesteader, I'll link her channel below, a huge thank you. I love her so much, her and her family, and all of her canning videos and all of my questions. She answered them, and helping me with the fear of getting over the fear of canning. Also, Linda from Linda's Pantry, I'll link her down below. And also our Half Acre Homestead, Beverly, for all of their canning videos and helping me get over the fear of it. There's some more jellies and jams and stuff that I want to do. And Booger, she's been doing some canning. Thanks, Booger. And I'll link all of their channels below. Thank y'all for answering my questions. And I'll bring you back in the morning. And if you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't already. And comment. I love hearing from you. Until in the morning, don't touch them. Leave them alone. Real quick, that little bit that was left over, I put it in a bowl. And I've got it now covered in the refrigerator in case anybody wants to try it. But I did try it, and it did taste pretty good. Was real, had that real dill taste to it. I don't know what else to call it. Normally when I buy dill relish from the store, I don't eat it by the spoonful, but it goes in my meals. So it tasted pretty good. Alright, it's the next day, and here's my dill relish. Been setting overnight. Now you want to check the seals. If any of them didn't seal, go ahead and just put it in your refrigerator and use it on up. So let me check them all. They're all sealed. And you can also remove the caps. Check, make sure that they're good and sealed. You don't want to break the seal. And I don't know if you can see it in there. It's good and thick. You can even wash your jars in some soapy water and rinse them. And store them even without the rings. So I'm just going to put what it is and the date on the top. Store it in a cool, dark place. And it should keep. Thanks for coming along with me. And do you do any canning? Would you like to see more canning videos? I do plan on making some more stuff. It is fun and I do enjoy it. Just still got to get over the fear. I'm always afraid I'm going to make somebody sick, and I wouldn't want to do that. So anyway, I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.